In Brazil, Lieutenant Colonel Mauro Cid testified at the Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry into the attempt coup of January 8 and exercised his right to remain silent. In Lithuania, the summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organizations is underway with a focus on a war in Ukraine and the candidates to join of warmer Green Alliance. In India, authorities evacuate areas near the Yamuna River because of danger of its overflow due to heavy and continuous rainfalls. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. On Tuesday, Lieutenant Colonel Mauro Cid, former aide-de-camp to former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, testified at the Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry into the attempt coup on January 8 in Brasilia. The hearing was requested after the federal police found on Cid's cell phone messages exchanged with other military officers, which hinted to actions that will include an attempt to seize power. Senator Rogerio Carvalho said there were indications that the military officer was plotting a coup against President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. In Brazil, the Brazilian Statistical Institute announced that inflation has its biggest drop in June at 3.16%, the lowest inflation rate since September 2020. According to the Consumer Price Index, prices fell by 0.08% in June. This shows that over the past 12 months, prices have been a sustained slowdown in inflation. Consequently, President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva pressured the central bank to lower its benchmark interest rate, currently at 13.75%, among the highest in the world. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro rejected U.S. conditions on purchasing oil products. President Maduro confirmed that Caracas advocates for economic and trade freedom and the lifting of restrictive measures. Maduro also stressed that Venezuelans have resiliently faced economic attack by the U.S. empire. In this regard, the president points out that the nation has achieved a 23% economic growth during the first half of the year, despite economic sanctions.
We have an agri-economy strategy, we have an agri-economy policy, we have resisted the onslaught of the sanctions, and we have come away ahead errosus step by step, little by little, progressively with our feet on the ground. We have grown in the first half of this year in domestic production and also in complementary imports, 23% in the first half of this year.
The Venezuelan president reaffirms that he advocates a free country without sanctions imposed by the United States.
If we need any petroleum-derived product, be it liquefied petroleum-derived gas or any product, how does the United States say if I authorize Venezuela to buy it for 1 year? What is that? That's why we have to get these sanctions out of us, and Venezuela reaffirms its absolute independence from any coercive measure, from any intention to colonize us. We advocate for freedom of trade, for absolute economic freedom, and we must continue building that freedom. What do the Green Code think? That Venezuela is a green economy? That it needs their licenses and permits? Not. Enough of the sanctions. We have to get them out of ourselves and build a totally free country, strong and prosperous financially.
Monday, media workers and activists demonstrated in Mexico City to demand justice for journalist Luis Martín Sánchez Iñiguez, reporter of La Jornada in the state of Nayarit, murdered last Saturday. The protest took place in front of the government's headquarters in the Mexico capital. Similar demonstrations were also carried out in Oaxaca, Guadalajara, Aguascalientes, and Ciudad Juárez. Freedom of Expression organizations points out that Luis Martin is the fourth reported killed so far in 2023, and 160 since the year 2000.
Now our comrades from Nayarit have had the courage to come and say that Luis Martinez Sanchez was killed. Fortunately, two other colleagues barely avoided that situation.
On Thursday, the Cuban Foreign Affairs Ministry rejected the entry of a U.S. nuclear power submarine into the illegal naval base in Guantanamo Bay. A Foreign Ministry statement explained that the submarine remains there for July 5th to the 8th, consisting in a provocative escalation by the United States, whose political or strategic motives are unknown. The text recalled that the 33 nations of the region are signatories to the Declaration of Latin America and the Caribbean as a sign of peace signed in Havana in January 2014. Let's take a very first break, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English. There you will be able to find news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, the summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization began in Vilnius, Lithuania. The two-day event will primarily focus on warning Ukraine and the candidates to join the military bloc. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg proposed to shorten the path to Kiev accession to the bloc by skipping one of the steps that up to now have been mandatory, the so-called action plan for membership. In addition, his proposal includes achieving full interoperability between Ukrainian and NATO forces with the support of allies as well as the creation of a NATO-Ukraine Council. In this context, leaders agreed to invite Ukraine to become a member of NATO when certain conditions are met.
And then the decision to remove the requirement for a membership action plan, which actually means that instead of 2 steps to become a member, there will now be 1 step. And we also made it clear that the invitation will be issued when conditions are met.
On Tuesday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow would amass at the speed with which both Finland and Sweden have renounced to their neutral status and have sought membership at NATO.
We were struck by the speed which both Finland and Sweden renounced their neutral status, renounced that advantage that this neutral status provides them for many decades, provide them with relatively independent role, and provide them with a reputation and authority both in Europe and on international stage. And in the end, they gave us those advantages they had from special trade and economic investment and other relations with the Russian Federation. The speed with which it happened makes one look for the reason in the subservient position in which these countries have been placed by the United States and the rest of the West countries.
Meanwhile, locals in Moscow expressed concern about the 2-day NATO summit being held in Vilnius, Lithuania, where leaders of member states are meeting to discuss the issue of military aid to Ukraine and its accession to the alliance.
It is very offensive that Ukraine fell for all that provocation of joining NATO. It is clear that they were promised a lot, like that they would be rich, with access to gas, fuel, equipment, and everything in the world. But in the end, they will be left with a big disadvantage, even when Russia will give up on them, and they will no longer be needed by anyone, neither the US nor the European Union.
It's frightening, the expansion of NATO, and it's honestly unknown how events will develop further, but I want to believe that it will end peacefully.
On Tuesday, protesters and lawmakers rally at the European Union Parliament as the bloc prepared for a crucial vote on safeguarding its threatening nature and fighting environmental degradation. Environmental protesters gathered towards the European Union to pass a bill aimed at abusing nature restoration. The Nature Restoration Act has risen all tensions between agriculture and environmentalism. Critics of the natural restoration bill cite dangers to food security, while progressive parties have condemned the European People's Party decision to oppose the nature restoration bill.
The stake, if we don't protect nature, if we don't protect people, is that countless of people are going to lose their lives and livelihoods, and it's the natural world that is at stake.
For years, we have reduced the use of phytosanitary products. We have reduced the use of antibiotics. We have changed our practices as well. We capture more carbon. We practice non-tillage to have more biodiversity in the soil. In short, we are changing our practices, but an authoritarian top-down law that wants to set uniform rules for all countries is not acceptable.
The summit of foreign ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations began in Indonesia, with regional security and stability high on the agenda. The first topic discussed at the meeting was the initiative to strengthen Asians' readiness to face current challenges. The country's Foreign Minister Mauro Cid called on the major powers not to use Southeast Asia as a stage to settle their differences and greater support. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you will be able to watch our interviews, top stories, visual broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. So, for a financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. Palestinian activists protest in solidarity with the civil 11 family as they were evicted from their home in the Muslim quarters of the old city of Israel-occupied Jerusalem. According to Israeli anti-settlement watchdogs Irdamim, some 150 Palestinian families in Jerusalem, Old City, and nearby neighborhoods are currently threatened with eviction. An Israeli court ordered greater permission to the Israeli forces and settlers to expel the families.
They are not democratic and they do not know about democracy. I am protected by all the laws of the world and my house is protected. They do not have the right to expel me from my house. But this is a criminal government. Settlement and stealing is criminal. And they steal everything from us. They stole the house, the lands, the youth, the women and children.
Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi will begin on Wednesday a 3-day tour of African countries. The Persian president is scheduled to visit Kenya, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Local media report that Raisi's visit has been postponed 24 hours as it was originally scheduled to start on Tuesday. Local media also informed that a visit was delayed in order to finalize key memorandums of understanding for the expansion of relations between Iran and the African hosts. On Tuesday, report by the United Nations World Food Programme says over 330,000 Sudanese have sought refuge in neighboring Chad. Since April the 15th, Sudan has been embroiled in a conflict between the army and the powerful paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces. The number of people fleeing the conflict has been increasing to the point that some 20,000 people arrived in the border town of Andra this past weekend alone. Chad World Food Programme Director Pierre Honrad said that people cross the border running, wounded, scurrying along, or with their children by their hands and with clothes on their backs. According to the latest figures by the UN Agency for Refugees, more than 648,000 Sudanese have fled to bordering countries like Egypt, Chad, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Central African Republic. On Tuesday, Indian authorities evacuated areas near the Yamuna River because of the danger of its overflow due to heavy and continuous rainfall affecting northern areas. The Weather Department said the Yamuna levels are at over 206 meters, slightly above the warning mark of 205, posing a threat to the surrounding low-lying areas. The Lee Finance Minister confirmed that the deployment of over 50 motorboats on the river and rescue and relief operations. In China, local authorities in the northwest province of Gansu report that 2 people died and 2 others are missing after a landslide registered on Monday. The incident was recorded after the heavy rainfall that also left 7 people injured. 26 homes were evacuated and a total of 336 people were forced to leave their homes. In turn, intense search efforts continue for the 2 missing persons. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.